Let me know when
Okay,
it says you're live.
OBS up and running,
Okay, I
and we
see
are
us.
live.
Excellent, sweet. Sup, y'all? Welcome to a very special edition of the CrossForge Gaming Podcast. We are live tonight covering E3, and what's crazy about it is we're covering E3. E3 hasn't technically started; that starts tomorrow. But all the big publishers want to do their like a few years ago. A bunch of the publishers were like, "Hey, you know what? We can be first if we start before E3." And then some other publishers were like, hey, no fair. We're going to start before E3. And now pretty much everybody goes before E3 except Nintendo, who isn't actually there. I mean, they're there, but they don't do a press conference. You know what I mean? They do their Nintendo Direct. Anyway, we are going to be talking about Ubisoft, Square Enix, the PC gaming showcase, whatever that is. I don't know who puts that on. Ned, who puts that on? Valve?
Basically, the PC Gaming Showcase is basically the leftovers of everyone who doesn't have their own presentations.
Oh, okay. So it's like Capcom has a game coming out for PC, so they're like, "Hey, we'll do that," or something. Okay,
Something like that.
yeah. Anyway, and then you'll see in the bottom of the screen there the Spider-Man.
Oh,
Yeah, you just muted us all, Sam.
yep.
And I think Patty is still muted and he doesn't know it.
Listen, I was trying
There,
to.
boom.
I
Okay, I'm unmuted.
apologize.
Like I was saying, Sam is watching this. He's supposed to be muted himself. I'm
I can
sure
still
that
hear you guys. I was trying to figure that out.
right. If you go into your Windows setting, you can probably just mute Chrome, or
I
at least
do that, and then I mute the stream.
oh,
Indeed.
Maybe.
you
Wait, hold on. You know
could
what?
you watch the
I'm gonna watch
stream
it in Microsoft
time?
Edge.
Oh, I'm sorry that you have to do that, but you know what? Things got to be done. Anyway, he's watching the Sony press conference live right now. He's going to be feeding us any like really big important news updates that happen. We'll probably talk a little bit more about what happened during Sony's event on tomorrow's episode of the podcast because the only new thing that will have happened tomorrow is the Nintendo Direct and then some show floor stuff. So anything we don't get to talk about Sony tonight, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. But anyway, I've been at work pretty much all day. I haven't gotten to watch any of the events. And actually, I haven't, like, when I say any of them, I mean any of them. I haven't watched EA's. I haven't watched anything from yesterday, and I haven't watched anything from today. I did get a little caught up on what Square Enix has done, but for the most part, I'm gonna have to kind of like live while we're talking about it, go look up information so that I can contribute to this conversation a little bit better. But Ned, what have you caught today so far?
Well, unfortunately, I missed the Square Enix presentation. However, I was able to watch most of the Ubisoft presentation, so I can discuss most of that. And there was one other one today that I did not get to view.
There's the PC. Is the PC gaming? Is that what you didn't get to view? Or
Yeah, I don't think I have not seen that one.
okay. Um, I'm
Also, I know Assad and I did not get the chance to talk about the Bethesda show much, other than just to make brief comments while it was happening.
oh, that's true because that was actually happening live, kind of in the same boat that we're in right now with Sony. So we can talk some about that. We'll throw that in there. Assad was supposed to be joining us tonight, and unfortunately, his computer about 10-15 minutes before we were supposed to go live decided, hey, I think I should do a Windows update. And so he's doing that. That's the reason why he's not here. And that's actually the reason why we were running a little bit late because he was going to be handling the actual streaming of this to Twitch because I'm on a not so hot internet connection. But hopefully, once his PC gets finished updating, he'll be able to join us. So, well, let's go ahead and start then with yesterday, the Bethesda conference. You guys talked plenty about Microsoft, and somebody else went yesterday. Oh, Devolver Digital. Did you get to talk about them at all? They were pretty late in the day.
We didn't talk about them a lot, but Devolver Digital is always their thing is they do a lot of indie titles. They're the company that does Serious Sam and Hotline
Mhm.
Miami and those type of indie-ish titles that are too small for a big publisher to pick up, but are
Right.
kind of too big to be, done on their own.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I might even have a couple of their games because I know they do really weird stuff. But anyway, so anyway, Bethesda, the big thing. I did watch a video. If any of you guys are familiar out there with Colin Moriarty, he was the senior editor at IGN for a really long time, actually. And then he and Greg Miller and a couple other people left IGN to start Kind of Funny. And then last year on International Women's Day, he tweeted out a day without finally peace and quiet, hashtag a day without a woman, and stepped down from Kind of Funny because of that and started his own YouTube channel called Colin's Last Stand. It actually focuses a lot more on politics and on video games, which is something that he's actually really, really passionate about. And so I follow him for that. But he did like little 10-minute updates on each of the E3 press conferences. So I watched his about Microsoft and stuff, and that's how I've been kind of staying up to date. And he talked about Bethesda quite a bit. And something that he pointed out, and he seems to have kind of the same idea about a lot of these press events that I have, which is that while they're fun and they're really big showcases and they spend a lot of money on putting on these big shows, most of the most of the companies that are doing these things probably don't need to. And he thought that about Bethesda because most of what Bethesda talked about, with the exception of possibly Fallout 76, which did that get a release date, Ned?
It did. It is releasing November the 14th of this year.
Okay, sweet. So that's pretty cool. But almost everything else that they talked about not everything, but considering how few games that they did release, and remember, Bethesda is a third party publisher. They're not releasing, thing after thing after thing after thing after thing like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo are. They have a very focused set of things that they're releasing. So when you consider how few games they actually talked about, and that two of them, The Elder Scrolls 6 and that other game that's a new IP.
Their new IP, Starfield.
Yes. When you consider that those are, and let's be realistic here, 4 or 5 years away from ever seeing the light of day, why did they have a press conference? Just tack your stuff onto Sony or Microsoft's, which actually they did with Fallout, correct?
Yes. Fallout 76, they debuted the cinematic trailer during the Microsoft presentation.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, what were your thoughts? I'm a really big fan of everything being really lean. When a few years ago, when Nintendo came out and said, you know what, we're not doing press events anymore, we're just going to do Nintendo Directs for E3, I was really disappointed because I kind of liked the big fanfare and the hoopla of it all. But then that first E3 Nintendo Direct came out, and I don't remember what year it was, so I don't remember what it was about, but I was like, no, actually, this is really good. It's 45 minutes. It's 45 minutes of information that I actually care about. Whereas when they would do an hour and a half, 2 hour long press event, 45 minutes of the show would be, here's how many Wiis we sold this year, and here's how many 3DSs we sold this year. And I'm like, I don't care. Show me Super Mario Galaxy 2. That's what I'm interested in. And so the longer that Nintendo's been doing this, the more I'm like, I kind of wish everybody would just do this. So what are your thoughts, Ned? Do you like the big thing? Are you glad Bethesda poured who knows how many millions of dollars into the show, or are you kind of like with me? Should they cut the fat and just focus on the stuff?
Well, I think Bethesda finds themselves between a rock and a hard place with these kind of things, because you can't drop something like the teaser they did for Fallout 76 and not do something like this.
True.
On the other hand, I understand, Bethesda as a publisher is growing beyond just their own internal games.
Oh, absolutely.
It's, they've acquired id Software, So they have all those IPs that are tied to id, like Quake and Doom and Wolfenstein, and they have what used to be People Can Fly is now Machine Games.
Okay, yeah.
Making the new Wolfensteins. They came out. There was a new Wolfenstein announced, Wolfenstein Youngblood, which is set in an alternate 1980s.
Oh, that's cool.
From what I can tell, likely starring the daughter of B.J. Blazkowicz.
Is that his name? I've never played Wolfenstein. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the main character, his name is B.J. Blazkowicz.
That's awesome.
And so B.J. Blazkowicz's daughter is the likely star of Wolfenstein Youngblood. They had a Prey DLC that's, of course, out now. They debuted a new Elder Scrolls game, but it is actually a mobile game called Elder Scrolls Blades.
I heard about that. That Colin Moriarty mentioned it and said that it actually looked pretty decent considering it's a mobile game.
Yeah, considering it's designed for Android and iOS devices, it actually looks like a fairly full-fledged RPG experience. So I've signed up for the beta on that, and we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Of course, there were several other big announcements. A new Doom game, Doom Eternal. Let's see, I already mentioned Prey and Wolfenstein. They announced some updates for Fallout Shelter. And, of course, the big centerpiece was Fallout 76. And, they had the cinematic trailer earlier in the day, and then they finally showed gameplay. And I'll admit I was extremely trepidatious about the fact that it was supposed to be a multiplayer title, but the fact that it can be played single player and that it's multiplayer only if you want to is a bit encouraging. I like that it is one of those, I have to give props to Darman. He called it. It is basically going to be Fallout Borderlands Edition with some additions of base building and survival mechanics in it. And so I like the idea better than I thought I would. And that's good.
Well, that's good.
There's some things we do know, some things we learned from the trailer. We learned that the map is going to be 4 times the size of Fallout 4. And that it is going to be set in the hills of West Virginia. Some things they told us tangentially through the trailers, it's going to cover most of the state because it featured a building that looked suspiciously like the main hall of West Virginia University, which is up in the very northern part in Morgantown. They also featured the Charleston Capitol Building, which is the state capitol, which is in the southern part of the state. They featured the Mothman Museum in part of the trailer, and that is in Pleasure Point, which is on the far western side of the state. And they also featured the Greenbrier Hotel, which I called that it would be in there. The Greenbrier was the real-world location where Congress was to be relocated in the event of total atomic annihilation. And the Greenbrier is located in White Sulphur Springs, which is on the western edge of the state.
Okay.
So the map is going to feature a significant portion of the state of West Virginia.
Sounds like it. Well, that's pretty neat. Anytime. Oh, here, I think I found it. So what's this? There's because when Breath of the Wild came out, everybody, as soon as anybody was able to get the map to scale, everybody just wanted to talk about, how it compared to other games. And I remembered it was bigger than any of the other games, with the exception of maybe the Xenoblade Chronicles games, because those also had maps that were so big that people were comparing them to other games. And so the Breath of the Wild map looks to be maybe twice the size of Skyrim. So how does Fallout 4's map compare to Skyrim? Do you know?
I've seen size comparisons. I'd have to look it up to be sure.
Okay, I was wondering because when you say like it's 4 times as big as Fallout 4, and I'm like, well, is Fallout 4 the biggest map we've ever seen?
Well, the answer to that is no.
Okay.
The biggest map that we have ever seen in a game, to my knowledge, was way, way back in the original Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, and I believe it still holds the Guinness World Record for the world's largest single map in a video game.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's pretty stinking ridiculous. All right, real quick. According to Sam, Last of Us 2 looks more interesting than the first. Now, we were talking before. I did not like The Last of Us, and it's not because of the story. The story seemed every bit as amazing as everybody tells me that it is, but gameplay wise, I'm sorry, it just didn't grab me. If Naughty Dog ever turns it into a movie, I will happily go see that movie because that story was turning out to be freaking amazing. But gameplay, I just didn't get it. So, and Sam seemed like he was kind of on the same page as I am. So he's saying so far The Last of Us 2 looks more interesting than the first. I'm not sure if the lesbian makeout scene had anything to do with him thinking it was more interesting, but he did bring that up. So God of War, go ahead.
That was kind of a plot point in the DLC for The Last of Us.
For the first one. Which and so I'll just we're a Christian channel here. We our stance is a biblical stance. Homosexuality is a sin. We don't think that means anybody needs to be hated on or anything like that. We love everybody, and we think that anybody who would discriminate against somebody who's homosexual for anything like that, like I don't agree with any of that stuff. My position on romance in stories at all is that as long as the romance makes sense, and I don't particularly care if it's a heterosexual romance or a homosexual romance, it doesn't that doesn't bother me. I'm going to be way more bothered by a romance that is shoehorned into a story for the sake of there being a romance than I ever will be over who the romance is between. And I'm going to go ahead and say right now, if I'm going to have a problem with homosexual romances being in a story, then I've also got to have a problem with a human dating an alien. So Peter Quill and Gamora, that should be a problem to me. If homosexual romance is a problem to me, that's just my opinion on it. Other people at CrossForge Gaming may disagree with me. This is not an official CFG stance. That's just my personal opinion on that whole thing. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
All I'll say on the subject is Tally is best girl.
Who's Tally?
Oh, Patrick, I'm going to need you to surrender your nerd card.
I mean, you tell me where it's from, and I might be like, oh, I know what you're talking about.
Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series.
I played 10 hours of Mass Effect 1 and went, this is not for me, and never finished. Don't like that game for the same reasons I don't like Skyrim and Fallout. All right, God of War 4 is getting a new game plus. New game. If you're not having to pay for it, sure, that's fine. It's great. Go ahead and add it. But that's the kind of thing where I'm like, why wouldn't that just end the game? Why does it have to be an update? That's weird. And it's just, I don't think anybody who's played God of War 4 would ever complain that the game was incomplete. But when you're adding things like New Game Plus to the game after it's already released, it kind of tells me that you released it before you were actually finished with it. So that's just my opinion. I mean, whatever. I think it's great. You're getting new content. Awesome. I just wondered why wasn't that in there at launch? I don't get it. Get 4 remasters. Black Ops 1. Oh, 4 remastered Black Ops 1 maps for Black Ops 3 when you pre-order Black Ops 4. So when you pre-order Black Ops 4, you get remastered maps for a game you're going to quit playing when Black Ops 4 comes out.
No one ever accused Activision of being smart.
Oh my gosh. It's like EA and Activision are in a race to see who can do the stupidest thing. And a few years ago, I'd have told you Activision was kicking EA's butt, but lately, I don't know. It's close.
Well, I will say EA did at least issue a mea culpa during their event,
Yeah.
but given what we found out about how airlifts are going to
I
work in
saw
Battlefield 5,
I saw
um,
that was pretty great.
I'm not sure they've really learned the lesson about loot boxes yet.
No.
And
No.
also, that was the thing that got me my bingo on my E3 bingo card.
Nice. So, in case you're wondering, the Battlefield 5 dev or whoever it was that was on stage at the time came out and was like, "Hey, no loot boxes in Battlefield 5. Everyone's going to have the same bit of everything. We're not going to fragment our player base, blah, 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 on and on and on." And then after the conference is over, you see all these headlines of, well, if you get the premium edition of the game, then you get this. Or if you pre-order this, then you get this with it. And it's like, oh, so all of that was BS. And then there's these things called airlifts in the game, which I don't know what they are exactly, but they sound like loot boxes to me. So,
Well, they're weekly drops of customization items. Notice how they specifically avoid the word loot.
right. Oh my gosh. EA. What? Look, I get it. Game development is expensive. No one is arguing that, and you've got to recoup your money somehow. I understand that. If it's that big of a deal, charge $70 for the game. And I know what you're thinking. No one's ever going to go for that. That's what I said when the 360 launched and they upped the price of games from $50 to $60. And guess what? We got over it. But we're not going to get over loot boxes or whatever stupid name you come up for it. Just charge extra money for it and be like, hey, this is the cost of game development. If you don't like it, don't buy the game. And see what happens. And I'd be willing to bet that not long after you did that, Activision would raise the price of Call of Duty to $70. And then Sony would raise the price of whatever Spider-Man to $70. And before you know it, the entire game industry would be charging $70 for all their games. And you wouldn't look like the bad guy anymore. So just stop being dumb. Okay, moving back on to where we were. Did we cover? Were we done with Bethesda? Can we move on?
I
Or
think so. I mean,
okay,
I'm excited to see where Starfield goes because,
mm-hmm.
I mean, Bethesda hasn't announced a new IP in almost 25 years,
Yeah,
other than the ones they acquired through like buying out Interplay and whatnot,
right.
and Eden. So it's their first new homegrown Bethesda IP.
Mm-hmm.
And Elder Scrolls 6, I think it was smart of them to just announce that it's coming. I'm
Yeah,
slightly more optimistic than you. I don't think it'll be 4 or 5 years. I'm guessing probably 2020 for the Elder Scrolls 6.
yeah.
And we'll probably see Starfield next year.
All right. I was just kind of assuming that. I mean, I don't know about Starfield, but the way they were talking about Elder Scrolls 6, I was like, this is a PlayStation 5, Xbox 2 game. I don't know that I see it coming out on current gen hardware, but I could be wrong. Who knows? We'll see. All right, moving on to Square Enix. Now, Square Enix actually did what I was just talking about earlier with you should just do these pre-recorded things and make it short and sweet. They did that. Now, what I was a little confused about, because again, I got my update from Colin Moriarty over on Colin's Last Stand. What I was confused about was, did they actually rent out a space that they had an audience come into and then they played the video to them? Or did they just release this on YouTube like Nintendo does with their Nintendo Direct? Do you know?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't get to watch the Square Enix presentation,
Mm-hmm.
so I am less familiar with it. I know they announced a few things. The one thing I did catch was Babylon's Fall. And let's see.
Yeah.
And I only caught that after the fact because I hate to admit this, I caught a Kotaku video on YouTube.
Aw. I actually don't hate Kotaku, but I think that's because I spend most of my energy hating Polygon, and I just don't have the energy left to hate Kotaku.
You heard it
Yeah.
here first, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Yeah, so they announced, well, they didn't really announce because this got covered during the Xbox conference. Interestingly, Kingdom Hearts 3, a lot of footage was shown there. Now they showed more footage of Kingdom Hearts 3 at the Square Enix conference, obviously. But the big thing with the release date and all that happened during the Xbox conference, which I think is interesting because Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix, early in their life, when they were just Squaresoft, and even Enix, they were separate companies. They were Nintendo. Both of them were, even though they weren't the same company. And then because of Nintendo's decision to go cartridges with the N64, both Squaresoft and Enix, again, still independent companies, shifted largely over to the PlayStation. And now both of these brands were associated with the PlayStation. And then when the Xbox 360, mostly, not so much the original Xbox, the Xbox 360 came out, they started kind of spreading themselves out. It was still, you thought of Square, and I think it's during that generation that they merged into Square Enix. You still associated them with Sony, but their stuff was coming out on Microsoft. And then with the Wii, their relationship with Nintendo got a little bit better. So you started seeing things popping up on the Wii and then the Wii U. And they're really, really into supporting the Switch with their own stuff. And now stuff is coming out. Like you even seen the first Tomb Raider reboot was a timed exclusive for the Xbox One. Final Fantasy is still largely associated primarily with the PlayStation brand. So it's a... there's all that going on. And so it was really interesting, especially because Kingdom Hearts has been primarily a Sony thing with a couple spin-off games released for the DS and the 3DS. But so it was interesting that Square Enix had such a big presence for Kingdom Hearts 3 at the Microsoft press event. So that was really cool. I don't care a lick about Kingdom Hearts, but I know a lot of people who do, and I'm excited that you guys are finally going to see this game before some of you die, because I was just assuming that would never happen. Nier Automata is coming to the Xbox One, so that's pretty cool. It's already on PC and PS4. Colin didn't mention it in his video, but I'm almost certain that I saw that Just Cause 4 was confirmed.
Yes, Just Cause 4 was indeed confirmed.
Yeah, it had kind of leaked, sort of maybe beforehand, and that's interesting because is Avalanche still developing that? Because they're the ones developing Rage 2.
I'd have to check, but I want to say so. Just Cause 4. Oh, apparently they're showing off the new engine for Just Cause 4 at the PC Gaming Show.
Oh, that's cool.
Or they did.
Okay.
Yes, and it is being developed by Avalanche.
Interesting. So that's cool. Now, I know Avalanche is not owned by Square that I know of. And actually, that makes sense because if they were, then I'm sure Avalanche wouldn't be able to develop Rage because that's a Bethesda thing. Unless they have some weird contract with maybe Square is like, yeah, sure, we'll let you use this company. We don't care. So that's interesting that that's happening. I love the Just Cause series. In fact, I believe it was you, Ned, who bought me Just Cause 3.
This is true.
I've not been able to play it yet
true.
because my PC won't run it. But I'm hoping to fix that problem very soon. I love Just Cause 2. It's a fantastic game. So yeah, so that's really cool. Also, the new Tomb Raider was shown off, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be, day and date across the board on Sony and Microsoft platforms. I don't think that whole timed exclusive with the Xbox One did the series any favors. Had that been the case on the Xbox 360, absolutely. Microsoft was kicking Sony's butt for a very long time. Not the case anymore. If you're going to do a timed exclusive, you do it on the platform that has more consoles. If you're going to do an exclusive, that's fine. Microsoft's paying you a bunch of money to have it exclusive on the Xbox. Knock yourself out. But timed exclusives on the smaller of the things, it's just that doesn't work out for anybody. Heck, that doesn't even work out good for Xbox fans because a year later, when it comes out on PlayStation, they sell the game for $60 with all the DLC that you had to pay extra money for. So I don't see how you got anything out of that other than being able to play the game early. Right. So that's cool. Of course, Octopath Traveler is a Switch exclusive. That's actually launching in July. I am super excited about that game, but I love old pixel art, turn-based RPGs. All this new stuff with the live actions. It's not a movie. Real time. That's what I meant. Real time action RPGs. I am not into them, which is why I'm not into Bethesda's big stuff. I would probably play the crap out of Doom and Wolfenstein if I had one, because those just look like so much stinking fun. And actually Rage 2 looks freaking awesome too. But just, the Western RPGs don't interest me. And so the path that Final Fantasy has been on since 12. Or no, 11, because 11 was online. I've just not been interested in, which actually brings me to the thing that I wanted to talk most about with the Square Enix press conference, and that's the fact that Final Fantasy Remake wasn't there at all. They didn't even, mention it. Hang on real quick. Whatever this Japanese Dad of War looking game is, looks awesome. We'll update with name and more info ASAP. Dad of War.
So there's a
spoof.
There's a joke going around that God of War would be better called Dad of Boy because the whole game is basically Kratos running around calling out to Atreus, going, "Boy,
yeah,
boy, come here, boy, you must be a man."
That's pretty awesome.
So Dad of War is kind of the jokey title that everyone's giving the new God of War movie or God of War game. Because
I wonder, the way Sam's talking, I wonder if they're making something called Dad of War. That'd be awesome. Just like when Bethesda did the whole Skyrim runs on everything and then put it on Alexa, and not as a joke. Real. It's a real thing. If you have an Alexa, it is free, right?
Yes, it is free. It is a skill you teach your Alexa, and you can literally play Skyrim by voice on your Alexa, or on your Echo device.
I've never wanted a robot that's constantly listening to me in my house more than that, because that would just be but see, the thing is with me, since I'm not a Skyrim player, I feel like I would get a good solid 20 to 30 minutes out of that, of just this is amazing, and then I would never go back to it
again. Sam says that the game that he was calling Japanese Dad of War is Ghost of Tsushima.
Interesting. I don't know what that means, but go check it out if you're a Sony.
It was one of the things that was on the E3 bingo card, so scratch another one off.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. If you're playing E3 bingo, which actually, are you playing that, Ned?
I am.
Yeah, how you doing?
Like I said, I've already got a bingo.
Nice.
Now I'm seeing if I can get a coverall, which actually, no, I can't get coverall because they didn't mention the Final Fantasy VII Remake at all.
True. And now, since that is supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive, there's this tiny possibility that Sony will mention it during their press conference, but considering the development problems that game has been having, I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm going to be honest with you. If that game releases, okay, so I made that joke about Kingdom Hearts 3 not coming out before all of us were dead. I mean, that's an over-exaggeration. I'm going to say right now, if Final Fantasy VII Remake ever releases to retail, whether it's on the digital store or in a box at Best Buy or whatever, if it releases in any form at all, whether it's paid or free to play or whatever, in its current form, so I don't want to specify that. If some dumpy version comes out for mobile, that doesn't count. I'm talking about the game they're making right now. If that game ever sees the light of day, I will eat a shoe on Twitch. I will put barbecue sauce on it and cook it and eat it. Gosh, I hope that game doesn't come out.
You all heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
We're going to clip this, and
it's not going to happen. And to be honest with you, okay. It's not even Final Fantasy VII. It has the same story, but it's not Final Fantasy VII. Imagine that Nintendo on the Nintendo Direct tomorrow is like, hey, everybody, we are remaking Super Mario Brothers, and it's a turn-based RPG. I'm sorry, that's not Super Mario Brothers. It's some game that maybe uses the story from Super Mario Brothers, which is every Super Mario game ever, including Super Mario RPG. But yeah, it's just it's not the same game. And so the people that they're hoping are going to buy this, which are those people like me who grew up with that game, we're not interested. And when I say we, I do mean literally everyone that I know who played this game on the PlayStation 1 as a kid has no interest in this game whatsoever. So I don't even know what they're doing. Just stop. That's all I got to say about that. You got any opinion on that, Ned?
You know, I would like to see an updated. I would like to see Final Fantasy VII with something slightly better than PlayStation 1 graphics.
Well, sure.
But at the same time, is it really necessary? No.
Nope. Yeah, that's if they wanted to take that game, like, to be honest with you, I'm weird in that I like, even when the old style was bad, I like it. I think it adds a certain charm to it. And the fact that the original game did a lot of swapping between art styles, it was charming to me. And I liked that. And I would be happy if they just literally just remade the game with all of the assets done in 1080p, 4K, whatever you want to do. But they're all still, when you're on the world map, it's still the goofy block looking cloud, and then it switches to the slightly more realistic looking cloud in the fight scenes and all that stuff. I would be happy with that, and then orchestrate the music, and don't change anything else about it. But if they insist on going in there and messing with the art style, fine. Do it in the Advent Children style and make Cloud look like a freaking little emo kid that I want to flick with my finger in the ear over and over and over again. Fine, do that. But the game, like if I played the two games side by side, they would be the same thing. They just look different. And this, I don't know what all this is that they're doing. Here, really quick. Sam, about Ghost of, is it Tsushima or Tsushima? Which one's silent? The T or the S?
That's a Jimmy question.
Okay. It looks really good. Third-person action combat, story-driven samurai game. I'm down. All right. The Avengers game also should have been shown off at the Square Enix show. Yeah, it wasn't. Everyone knows that Square Enix has been contracted to do an Avengers game. There's no telling what that's going to look like. This game called Control looks really drugged out of control and esoteric. So it sounds to me like Sam's not super into whatever it is. Some game called Control. There you go. Oh, and another thing about the Square Enix presser, they said they announced Nier Automata coming to Xbox One. They also announced a new IP. I can't remember the name of it, but Platinum Games is developing it. Square Enix or Nintendo, just buy Platinum. You keep working with them. My personal preference would be that it be Nintendo, because none of the Square Enix published Platinum games ever go to Nintendo hardware, and that's where I like playing the games. But the two companies they've been working really well with Platinum, and Platinum used to work pretty closely with Sega. Sega published Vanquish and the first Bayonetta, which I haven't played I haven't played Vanquish yet, but it looked freaking amazing. But Bayonetta is a great game. Nintendo also published the Wonderful 101 by by Platinum Games, and they have essentially bought the Bayonetta IP. I don't know that they own it outright, but they're publishing Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 3. So you can bet that short of lots and lots of money being thrown at Nintendo, that those two games will never see the light of day outside of the Nintendo ecosystem. Square Enix has published Nier Automata. I know they've published other Platinum games. But much more than Sega has. I feel like Sega hasn't actually worked with Platinum in a very long time. Just one of you two, just buy the company. The company could probably use the influx of cash, especially after Microsoft just whatever the crap that was with Scalebound. I'm still mad at that. I'm so angry at that. Scalebound was going to be good. I get that according to Microsoft, it had way too many problems. And every single time they demoed it, it seemed like it was having trouble. And so maybe the right move really was to just go, you know what? This thing is never going to turn in anything. Let's just kill it now. I get that. Sometimes that needs to happen. But I really think either Square Enix or Nintendo just needs to buy Platinum. And to be honest, maybe one of them has approached Platinum and Platinum's been like, nah, we're good. But I think that's what needs to happen. Back over here. Trover Saves the Universe is Rick and Morty, but it's not.
Okay.
Okay, Rick and Morty is garbage, so I know some people disagree with me on that, but whatever. New Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff. Pirates of the Caribbean reveal for KH3 looks really weird because it's a realistic art style.
What?
Why? Like literally everything else in those games is the
Highly
same art
stylized
style,
and
aren't
cartoony.
they? Yeah. That's weird. But even like, because Frozen's going to be in it now, right?
Yeah,
And even
and
that looks like it
they
belongs.
showed off the Frozen level for the Xbox
Yeah.
presentation.
So I don't know. Sam's saying, I don't know if it's Johnny Depp. I would imagine if it is Jack Sparrow, that they probably at least tried to get him, but I don't know. Okay, so Anifix is saying, so was Pirates of the Caribbean in Kingdom Hearts 2? I wouldn't know. But he says it was realistic in Kingdom Hearts 2, so I'm guessing.
Well, it was realistic
that's the
in Kingdom
truth.
Hearts 2, but it was still kind of stylized. It was.
Well, but you also got to remember, Kingdom Hearts 2 was on the PS2. You kind of had. I mean, every time
as realistic as it could be.
Yeah, every time they tried to do photorealism back there, it always looked like garbage. Let's see. Also, no news on if John Goodman is reprising his role on as Sully in Monsters Inc. I find it weird that he specifically mentioned John Goodman and not Billy Crystal played Mike, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So does that mean Billy Crystal is playing Mike in the game? I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, John Goodman doesn't have Roseanne tying him up anymore, so why not? He needs the money, right?
This is true.
Yeah. Anifix says that they made Sora more realistic looking there too. So apparently, depending on what world you're in, Sora looks different.
Oh,
so that's interesting.
Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, and 3 all in one package.
1.5. Okay, help me out here. The naming scheme for Kingdom Hearts has always been bonkers to me. What are these? What is 1.5, 2. I mean, 3 is obviously it's 3, but what's 1.5 and
the reason it's bonkers to you is because it is bonkers. It makes absolutely no darn sense.
Well, I'm glad that someone else agrees with me.
So Kingdom Hearts 1.5 is technically like the definitive version of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay.
And same for Kingdom Hearts 2.5, which is kind of the definitive version of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be Kingdom Hearts 3 until they make it like Kingdom Hearts 3.1415926.
Yes. They should start naming them like Apple does with Mac OS. It's Kingdom Hearts mountain top or something. I don't know. Norman Reedus and the Funky Feet.
So I'm assuming that's a Kojima Death Stranding.
Yeah. And let's add that to the list of games I don't care about. Is Death Stranding. And here's the thing, real quick, before people like jump all down my throat about that. I am not interested in games that get released, that get announced a good 5 years before we're ever going to see them. Now, calm down, everyone. Every single time Nintendo announced something about Breath of the Wild, as far as I know, they were under the impression that that game was coming out way earlier than than it really was. No one in their right mind, including Kojima, thinks that that game is anywhere close to being finished. The goofy thing that they did, how many was it, 2 years ago that they did the weird, here's naked Norman Reedus and a bunch of dead fish all over the place. Wasn't that 2 years ago?
Yep, pretty much.
Ridiculous. Like, just stop it. And look, Kojima, we all know that you want to be a film director. So just make a movie. Anyway, actually new footage though, maybe gameplay. This one started off on the Funky Fetus butt cheeks, unfortunately. Yeah. We'll get more information about that. Back to Square. I was talking about how them or Nintendo should just buy Platinum. So that's my opinion on that. All right. Now I didn't get to watch anything at all about the Ubisoft conference or the PC gaming conference. So I'm kind of at your mercy, Ned. So I'm hoping that you know a little bit about what's going on there.
So Ubisoft revealed a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can hit the highlights.
Do it.
So probably the biggest announcement for most people was Beyond Good and Evil 2, which we kind of knew was going to be there.
Yeah.
They showed a new trailer though, and they showed that Jade from the first game is coming back, but this time as a villain. So she was the protagonist of the first game.
Yeah, I liked the first game. It was really good.
And so she's coming back as a villain here in the second one, which is an interesting turnabout.
Interesting.
Let's see what else. The Division 2.
But why?
Well, The Division 2 is moving the story from New York to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And basically, the premise of the game is that you're playing members of the Division, and you are trying to stop a new American Civil War in the capital of Washington, D.C.
So MAGA versus the SJWs?
I'm not sure they make it quite that explicit, but you know that's got to be the direction they take.
Do I get to pick which side I'm on?
I don't know.
Because that would be interesting. I'd play a video game where I get to play as an SJW. I'd always want to know what it felt like to be one. Not badly enough to become one, but...
Let's see what else. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was shown off at the Ubisoft conference.
Oh, Mario Odyssey 2. Okay. Do you fly in a giant spaceship that just looks like the Assassin's Creed hood?
No, but you do get to fight with the broken spear of Leonidas.
I don't know how that's related to Mario, but okay.
It isn't, because Assassin's Creed Odyssey is set in ancient Greece.
Oh, yeah. The closest you get to that in Mario Odyssey is Mexico, which, if you're like, that's nothing like ancient Greece. Exactly. It's not.
Let's see what else. They launched the show with Just Dance 2019 because reasons.
Sweet.
They had a Rainbow Six Siege announcement where they announced that they have 35 million players for the game.
Okay. That game was one of the editions was actually reviewed by Sam, who is the guy feeding us all of our Sony information.
What was he saying about Fallout 76?
I don't know if you talked about that. Fallout 76 being online. That is. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it is
we
online.
covered that.
It is drop in, drop out co-op. So
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so interesting. I'm looking at the CNET. Got a little written thing here about the Ubisoft conference. So this thing called Starlink Battle for Atlas. That's the thing that is their Toys to Life sort of doohickey, I
yeah,
believe, that they
have
announced either
these.
last year or 2 years ago, which
Yeah,
I thought was interesting because other than Amiibo, which is not really Toys to Life in the sense that the Lego game and Disney Infinity and Skylanders was. Toys to Life is kind of on its way out. I know Disney closed down the Infinity group.
right.
I Does Activision still do Skylanders?
I haven't heard anything new
Neither have
lately.
I.
Um, but the thing about Starlink Battle for Atlas is rather than being creatures, this time it's spaceships.
Yeah.
And apparently, due to their good relationship with Nintendo, you can play as Star Fox.
Oh yeah. You know why? Because as much as I like Platinum Games, their Star Fox game sucked. It was so bad. And look, I sometimes get a little upset when people call me a Nintendo fanboy. But I have to admit, they're probably a little bit right when I consider how much I tried. Like, I tried to force myself to like that Star Fox game. I was like, no, guys, it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad. And then I beat it and I went, no, it really is. It really is that bad. This game is awful. It's so bad. And I don't even think I can blame Platinum for it. Um, Miyamoto, I love the man to death. He is the reason that I am trying to do this with the the CrossForge gaming. He's what got me into video games. He's whether he's directly involved in your love of video games or not, he is absolutely indirectly involved in it. But I fear that he may be at a point in his life where he's kind of like how George Lucas was over Star Wars when he did the prequels, where you're in a room with this guy who is undoubtedly a genius, and there's no one like him out there in the world, and he comes to you and he's got what is objectively a bad idea, and no one has the stones to look at him and go, no, that's
Mhm.
not a good idea. And I think Miyamoto's at that point in his life. Now, he is taking much more of a backseat involvement and to things at Nintendo. And I, at one point in my life, feared that day. But I think it was after playing Star Fox Zero that I was like, no, I think it really is time for him to start not being involved at all, but being way less involved than he is, because that idea of the gamepad being what it was in Star Fox Zero, 100% his idea. There's no way in the world anybody else thought of that. And I'm not even saying that the idea itself was bad. It's the execution of the idea was just horrible. So anyway, so when I was reading this thing about the Ubisoft thing and that you can play a Star Fox in this little thing where you're building your ship, that got me excited. I don't know if it means that the game's going to be anything like Star Fox or if you're just playing as Fox McCloud and his team. I don't care. Whatever. As long as the game's good, I'm excited for that. So cool.
Sam is spazzing out a bit in the chat talking about Spider-Man PS4.
He's at the raft. Does that mean anything to any of you?
I'm afraid the meaning is lost on me.
Okay. What is Neo 2?
So Neo was the game where you played a Westerner as who was playing a samurai in feudal Japan, and you were fighting demons and whatnot. It was kind of like a Samurai Souls game.
Ah, okay. I've never heard of it, but sure. That sounds like fun.
And apparently it's getting a sequel.
Well, cool. Spider-Man PS4, he's at the Raft. The Raft is a prison for super. Oh, it's like Arkham, but Marvel edition.
Oh,
Okay,
right. They showed the raft in Captain America Civil War
they did.
when
Sure.
when they jailed Falcon and Hawkeye and oh, who else did they? It's
Was it
when they
was it
were after the
Bucky? It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
when they had the big fight and then they captured everyone except Bucky and Cap, and they threw the rest
Oh
of them
yeah.
into that undersea prison. That's the raft.
Oh, I didn't know it was called the Raft. If it's under the water, it's not a very good raft. Just saying.
Well, it's submersible.
Oh, okay. I still I'm not familiar with a raft that it's good when it goes underwater. Whatever.
So
Um,
apparently Rhino and Electro, Scorpion. So it looks like we're getting all the classic Spider-Man villains.
yeah. All right. Interesting. The Sinister Six has to be part of it. Yeah. I don't follow the comic books nearly. If they weren't in the movies, and by the movies I mean the Tobey Maguire movies, and by the Tobey Maguire movies I mean 1 and 2, because those are literally the only two I've seen. Then I don't know anything about them.
We're a fortunate soul for not having to have seen 3.
Yeah, I felt like 2 was a really good way to end that series. And then when 3 came out, even before I heard that it wasn't very good, I just wasn't super interested in it. I am a really big fan of stories wrapping up earlier rather than later. And in fact, I'm going to talk a lot more about this on Thursday when we do our big E3 recap. Because I want to talk about the Microsoft show and Halo and how disappointed I am in that series. And one of the reasons I'm disappointed in that series is because Halo 3, perfect send off for Master Chief. Why'd you dig him back up? I know everybody's like, I don't want to play with Master Chief. The story's over. Move the frick on. So anyway, that's just me.
Especially after the travesty that was Halo 4, because I played through Halo 4 and those are hours of my life I'm not going to get back.
And it got worse with 5.
Which makes me glad I don't have an Xbox One.
It's so bad. Okay, so
What else did Ubisoft talk about? Oh yes, For Honor is getting an update. They're
okay.
adding it started off as Knights versus Vikings versus Samurai. Well, now they are adding the Chinese military to it with the Marching Fire update.
Okay.
So, and also you can get For Honor Starter Edition for free on PC this week.
Cool. I want to go back to the Division. That's their games as a service game, right?
Kind of, sort of, yes.
Okay. So about games of service, I have not played any of these games as a service at all. So maybe I just have a very limited understanding of it. And by the way, those of you in the chat, if you want, ask us questions. Throw some stuff out there. Maybe you disagree with us. Let us know. Maybe you do agree with us. Let us know that too. We want to interact with you as much as we can. About the games of service model, and I thought this about Destiny because that was kind of like the first big one. It seemed to me that the game was being built around this idea that you were going to buy Destiny and then you were going to get add-ons or DLC or expansion packs or whatever, and they were just going to keep adding to it and improving it and on and on and on. And then Destiny 2 happened, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It would be like if a World of Warcraft 2 came out. Like, what's the point in that? You're supposed to be adding and developing this world. And so I thought, well, okay, maybe they're just doing that because the first Destiny really was as light on content as everybody said that it was. So, all right, whatever, no big deal. But now you got the Division 2 and other games as a service games are doing this sequel thing. And I'm like, did I just miss what the point of a games as a service game was? Or am I not alone in thinking this?
Okay, so I think what happened is that with the original Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that they originally launched with was, we're going to launch this game as something that lasts for the next 10 years and is going to be an MMO-like experience.
Yeah. But you
Only
don't
they
have to
launched
pay
it.
extra for.
They launched it, and they realized that wasn't going to work.
Uh-huh.
Because think about if you were still trying to play a game today that came out on the Xbox 360.
Oh, that's true. It came out on both the last gen and the current gen.
Imagine, let's frame it this way. Imagine you had a game that was using the engine from, say, Fallout 3, a game that is 10 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And you were going to update and modify and keep that game current for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about, or maybe a better example, think about World of Warcraft. That game has been running since 2004.
Yeah. 14 years.
And the game as it stands today is hugely different from when it launched. And I think what Bungie realized, and what BioWare and Ubisoft and all these others are realizing, is you can't make an MMO light and then continue to make money off of it. At least not in the traditional sense, without something like a subscription fee or what have you. I think where The Division and Destiny and, perhaps to a lesser extent, I had a name for a game that I can't remember. But other games as a service games where they're kind of falling apart is they're realizing that there's only so much you can do with post-launch content.
Yeah.
And that even with a solid game in this day and age, other games come out so fast, and there are so many games out on the market that there's no way you can keep a particular game going without a sequel. At least if you're going to be doing AAA development. Now, you can come out of nowhere and be a one-hit wonder, which I think PUBG is going to be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get so much hate for that.
I mean, I feel like Microsoft, especially in particular Phil Spencer, like he can't catch a break. I think that dude is a really cool guy. The kind of guy that would probably be really neat to sit down and have coffee with if I liked coffee, or a beer with if I liked beer. And but he inherited a mess from Don Matrick. And he's been trying. That they acquired Minecraft, not to say that was a bad move, but kind of after it had already peaked and is now on a downward slope. And don't get me wrong, I bet you Microsoft has made that $2 billion back, and that they're going to continue to make money off of Minecraft for a very, 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 very long time. But they bought it at $2 billion after the height of Minecraft had already passed. And they bought PUBG, and I mean, I think they had every reason to believe that PUBG Corp was onto something, and it was going to be this big thing, and it was going to make them lots of money. And then Fortnite came out, and and like almost overnight, PUBG was just done. And and Microsoft's not the only ones. Sony really went after the Call of Duty exclusivity. Now that's nowhere near as big of a price as buying an intellectual property or buying a studio for their game. But Sony came into the PS4, they approach Activision, they're like, look, PS4 is going to be on fire. We want Call of Duty aligned with the PlayStation 4, just like it was with the Xbox 360 on the Xbox 360. And almost like that, no one cared about. I mean, and I don't say no one. I say no one cared about Call of Duty in the same way that I say no one cares about Minecraft, which is to say there are still millions and millions of people that care about Minecraft. It's just not the tens of millions of people that cared about it at its heyday. Same thing with Call of Duty. It's not nearly as big as it was before Sony convinced Activision, probably with a very fat check to align themselves with the PlayStation brand. And also, Sony really went after Destiny, aligning themselves with the PlayStation brand. Now, I'll admit, I think that had a whole lot more to do with the fact that that game is Bungie. And they really wanted that. I don't think they cared so much about Destiny itself. I think it was, we're going to get Bungie aligned with us. And I'm not going to say, again, that didn't work, but Destiny was not the big thing that everybody thought that it was going to be.
Well, I think a lot of Destiny's key core problem was they failed specifically to deliver on all their promises. They promised a big, rich world with lots to do and with a deep, engaging story. And what we got was a large, semi-shallow world that had a lot of repeatable things to do, but it was the same repetitive things over and over. And when you have to tell the story for a game using an external website from the game itself to collect trading cards, essentially, to tell the game story, that is not how you do game story. I'm not a professional game developer, but even I, a lowly player and a dabbler in game development, know that's not how you do that.
Absolutely. All right, so Sam is joining us now on voice. The Sony event is over. That actually didn't surprise me at all because I did hear that Sony was planning on having a significantly shorter press conference than they have in the past, which again, I think is a good thing. I still think it would be better if all of these companies just did pre-recorded stuff like Nintendo. But if you're going to have a big live event, don't waste my time. Don't keep me there longer than you have to. And it sounds like Sony did exactly that. They got in, they showed everybody what they wanted to show them, and they got out. So we'll talk about the Sony event here in a little bit more detail, but because just to stay within chronological order, I do want to touch on the PC gaming showcase. Now, did anybody get to really...
I did. I clipped through it. I went to like the whole feed and just clipped through watching some of the stuff. Some of the stuff I actually sat there and watched most of the gameplay. Other things I kind of jumped over because I didn't really care that much.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm on PC Gamer, which they're actually another company that I told myself I would never click on another article from them again, but if I want PC gaming news, it might be where I have to go.
while we're doing that, I should mention the cover for West Virginia or Country Roads Take Me Home by John Denver.
Yeah,
that is being featured in the Fallout 76 trailer. You can buy that cover starting July 4th on iTunes.
Cool. Just on iTunes? You can't buy it on Google Play?
Well, the song will be made available for download from the iTunes Store beginning July 4th, with Bethesda donating 100% of the proceeds to Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. All right.
Something I did miss really quick with the Sony thing. When they were talking about the Call of Duty, I was just too focused on making that joke about the DLC maps.
Oh, yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is the other surprise PS Plus game this month.
Oh, okay.
Just to throw that out there.
PS Plus, Black Ops 3. There you go.
I guess I own that game now.
I guess you do. All right. So the PC gaming show, it's not put on by any one developer, but because the E3 tends to be console focused, and PC gaming is kind of on the rise and has been for a while, especially with whether you want to admit it or not, Microsoft putting every single first party Xbox game on PC at the same time that they put it on Xbox is a really, really, really big reason why I think both PC gaming is doing better than it, maybe would be otherwise. But also is, I think, also a big reason why Xbox is not doing so great. Because at some point you're like, I could just build a PC, gaming PC, and get all these games over there. Especially since even though Game Pass is not technically available for PC, all of your, and I discovered this with Sea of Thieves. This was the first time this happened. If you have Game Pass, you get Sea of Thieves for Xbox One. Since Sea of Thieves is the very first Xbox One game to come out at the exact same time for PC, and the licenses are kind of all considered one thing, your Xbox Game Pass subscription gets you the PC version of Sea of Thieves. So you don't necessarily have to have an Xbox One to benefit from Game Pass. You do have to have an Xbox One to get the full benefit of Game Pass, because there's other games on Game Pass that are not Microsoft games that you're not going to get on your PC, because that's just not how this works. But that's kind of a big deal. So anyway, the PC Gaming Showcase, it's just a bunch of different publishers who have gotten together and they're like, hey, we want to have a PC gaming presence at E3. I think it's a very welcome presence. It's something that we need. And so, yeah, that's that. I'm on Kotaku Australia. They have, it says a live blog.
Then you and I are looking at the same thing.
Okay.
I'm actually on Ars Technica's website.
Wait a minute. Was Joseph Gordon-Levitt at the Ubisoft one?
And so was Elijah Wood.
Yes, they were touting their own indie game things.
What?
So Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a company that is more for a creative side of anything, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what it's called. It's not necessarily specifically for gaming. But
at least that's his TV initiative. But that's cool. Okay. Yeah. I kind of know what that is. All right, let's see if I see anything that kind of stands out. I would imagine most of this stuff that we're going to see at the PC Gaming Showcase is indie stuff, because the bigger, like Capcom, like they're going to have a spot at like Microsoft's.
So the PC Gaming Show launched off with Coffee Stain Studios' Satisfactory. Basically a first-person survival building and crafting game in space.
Okay. So I don't care.
With a 30 square kilometer map, you build autonomous vehicles to go and fetch resources, and it's all in first person.
Well, there you go.
It seemed like what No Man's Sky was supposed to be.
Oh.
It seems like a space version of Subnautica.
Yeah.
And a wild Assad appears.
Hey, your PC updated.
Yeah, during the PC segment. Go figure.
Yeah, there you go. Also, you sound like you're not coming out of your headset microphone, or maybe your microphone's not in your mouth, or
oh dear Lord,
I don't know. You sound like you're coming out of your laptop mic or something, or your webcam mic or something goofy like that. So while you're fixing that, we got a game here called Neocab. It looks like you drive a cab. Oh, it's like Crazy Taxi. No, it doesn't look anything like Crazy Taxi. I don't know. This almost looks like a dating sim that happens in a taxi. I don't know what we got going on
here. They showed off, I think, quite a few of those, I guess, story-driven. I don't know. I guess pretty much any of the talking moments in any of the Telltale games.
Oh yeah.
It was
is this a Telltale
in a whole game? It wasn't Telltale.
Oh, okay.
But it was like the talking moments of a Telltale game, but expanded into a full game.
That's pretty cool.
I think.
One of the screenshots that I have here you can see the driver in the rearview mirror. It looks like if John Krasinski, who plays Jim from The Office, was a woman. That's the cab driver.
I see it.
Anyway, okay.
Wait, I want to talk about Maneater.
Maneater.
Are we going in order, or
just in order of this Kotaku article.
It's a shark
yeah.
simulator game. It's a shark PG.
Shark Simulator.
A shark PG.
Shark PG. Yeah, I'm game, especially if there's a battle royale mode now.
You play as a shark and you level them up and you give them skills, and I love it.
Play this all day. I never play another game.
It started off as a I guess commercial for vacation, like those vacation commercials, and then it slowly devolved into sharks jumping out of the water and landing on people on land and on ships and stuff and like eating them. It gets dark and bloody. It's it's being published by Tripwire, I believe. The same people.
What else have they done?
Killing Floor.
Okay.
Yeah, that explains it.
Yeah.
And it's basically you're a shark and you level up and you eat people to level up and go nuts.
Sweet.
We don't know too much about it. Yeah, there's no.
What else is there to know?
I don't know, but I want more.
I want to know if I can equip eventually a laser onto my back.
like a accuracy improving.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. All right, so Plot, I don't know who that is. I'm guessing he's the host of this show. Says there will be several battle royale games because we need more of those.
Yeah.
The first
one is Maverick's Proving Grounds, which is its claim to fame is that it will have up to 400 concurrent players in a match.
Actually, according to what I'm seeing here, it's 1,000.
That's in the 5-player squad mode.
Oh, okay. Like, why? Does the game get better at that point? That's what I want to know. Like I get how when a Battlefield 4 no. The first game that I know of that did this, and it didn't do it very well because the game was buggy as crap, was well, I was thinking I mean console game. I'm sure a PC game was doing a lot before that. But the first console game that I know of that did this was Perfect Dark Zero. That game was a freaking hot mess of bugs and stuff. Assad disappeared. I wonder where it went. Anyway, it boasted 64-player online at the same time. Now, that didn't mean anything because the game was a buggy mess. So whatever. Let's see. Assad's messaging me real quick.
He got the Windows update, like the most recent big one, and
yeah, mine did that. Like it changed my wallpaper and all kinds of stuff. And so yeah, he's gonna be fighting with that for a little while. So hopefully he'll figure that out soon. Probably not in time to get back in here with us, but we'll see. But yeah, like so this is kind of the same thing that I said about so Dead Rising. One of the coolest things about Dead Rising was that you could have 800 individually controlled zombies on camera at one time, and that was a really big deal. But let's say Dead Rising 2 comes out, and they're like, well, now it's 1,000. Okay, am I going to notice those extra 200 zombies? No, I'm really not. 800 was fine. So I'm thinking this, with it's 1,000 was 400 concurrent players. Considering how few of those concurrent players I actually come across at the same time in a game of PUBG or Fortnite, does having 400 people on the map at the same time make the game better? And I would argue it probably not.
Yeah, the thing that makes PUBG and that makes Fortnite effective at what it does is that it is a thriller. It is you fighting the ever-encroaching dread of knowing that eventually you're going to run into some other players and they're probably going to be better equipped than you. So you're either going to have to outskill them or you're going to just die.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it'll mean you run into your first set of people sooner. Maybe. But I would also imagine, I would also imagine that along with 4 times the concurrent player base, you're going to wind up with a map that is at the very least twice as big, if not 4 times as big. And if it's 4 times as big, well, you haven't actually improved anything. So
Yeah,
I just bigger's not always better. And for a perfect example of that, the Nintendo's really good about this, but I want to specifically highlight the developer of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and whatever that game is with the flying dog thing. What is that, Sam? The Last Guardian.
Last Guardian.
Yeah, there's actually a PowerPoint or something that you can go download that the head of that development team had released. He did a talk at a developers conference, and it's really cool. He talks about working with inside limits. And that's one of the things that Nintendo has always done really well. They know how to work within the limitations of the hardware that they come up with. And this company that has, I guess, is Team Ico, aren't they? What they're called?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have kind of the same philosophy. Now, the hardware limits that Nintendo's talking about, they're limits that they actually put on themselves by underdeveloping the hardware, if that's how you want to look at it. Team Ico is not dealing with those same hardware limitations on the PS3 or on the PS4. These are limitations that they put on themselves, that they went, hey, this is the philosophy that we want to do with those games. And those games are some of, I don't know about The Last Guardian because I haven't played it, but Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are quite possibly 2 of the greatest games ever made. And I think this whole let's throw 400 people into an arena at the same time, or let's the Fallout 76 map Ned was saying is 4 times, it was 4 times the size of Fallout 4.
4 times the size of Fallout 4.
Right. Is that going to make the game better? I don't know, and I doubt it.
I feel like with the changes they made of making it multiplayer, it might. I feel like the less chances of running into I think they're underestimating how much people are going to troll in that game.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger map might help with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's...
So, kind of as a point to that, remember, this game was developed by Bethesda Game Studios Austin, which used to be Battle Cry Studios. Battle Cry was originally trying to market their game Battle Cry, which was a 32-on-32 player multiplayer online battle arena. So this is me speculating about Fallout 76. If you have a map that is 4 times the size of Fallout 4 with up to 64 player characters, but they're working in 4 character teams, so that actually makes it 16 groups of 4 people apiece, roughly. Then, if you're working on a map that's 4 times the size of Fallout 4, which Fallout 4 is not a small map, the likelihood of running into each other is significantly lessened.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm just excited with the fact that I'm going to actually be able to play Fallout with my friends, and I hope they make it, because there's talk about them making it having maybe private servers and like having your own private world where you and your friends can just play, or just by yourself.
That'd be cool.
And they are 100% committed to having mod support. So
yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, I would totally be in line for having a quote unquote creative mode like Minecraft has, where you can get together in a private world with some of your friends and build the best settlement ever,
right,
without having to worry about Johnny come lately who decides that he's going to hunt you down just because, or tracks down all the nuclear launch keys and decides to nuke your base just because.
All right, so the Forgotten City, which is apparently a Skyrim mod.
Yes, it was developed by an Australian writer by the name of Nick Pierce, and apparently the original Skyrim mod that the game is based off of won an Australian Writers Guild Award 2 years ago.
Sweet.
So
there you go. And then Star Control Origins, which is an action RPG, which means I don't care.
And it's looking an awful lot like No Man's Sky-ish.
That does look
Except
weird.
maybe with more to do.
Yep. Crytek's Hunt Showdown. I don't know what that is.
So Hunt Showdown is a game where you're attempting to track down monsters, but a lot of the gameplay is not so much you actually fighting the monster, it's you trying to find the monster. So a lot of the gameplay is built around investigation.
That could be interesting. All right. Then a game called Sinking City, open world third person Lovecraftian investigation game. I don't know. Lovecraftian stuff has never ever appealed to me at all.
Yeah.
I'm not like snobbish about it. I don't, if you're into that kind of thing, I mean, yeah, sure, you're into it. Good for you, but it just is I don't get it. Let's see. Archangel Hellfire, which drops July 17th.
Yeah, it's a mech combat game. So that piques my interest immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad those are still being worked on. Titanfall 2 was fantastic. And the single player was awesome.
Oh, Titanfall 2? Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to just have more of that.
It's a shame that game did not do better.
Yeah.
Than it did. Sega. Oh, here's what. If you guys are familiar with Patrick Fagan, also known as Gamma Lad on YouTube, Sega's bringing a whole bunch of stuff to PC, and this is why he was saying that Sega wins E3, which is weird when you think that they didn't actually have a conference. They're just part of this. Bayonetta is coming out, which is actually already out on PC, so that's not new. New game Shenmue 1 and 2, which is pretty cool, especially considering that, well, I guess we'll Sam, did Shenmue 3 show up at the Sony event at all?
Not that I remember. My memory is horrible, but I don't think so.
That's interesting. And that's that weird. Sony is developing it and funding it, but it was also a Kickstarter, which kind of made me feel icky about that. But whatever. So Shenmue 1 and 2 are coming to PC, which is great because I'm fairly certain those games are, up until now, have been stuck on the Dreamcast and have never come out for anything else. Shining Resonance, Refrain, and here's why Patrick Fagan said Sega wins E3. Yakuza 0. I'm pretty sure that if all of the games in the world, like if when Thanos snapped his fingers, if every video game in the world dissolved except for the Yakuza games, Fagan wouldn't care. He'd be like, I'm in heaven. There's nothing but Yakuza out there. So that's, and I think he's hoping that Yakuza 0 coming to PC means that the remaining Yakuza games will also come on PC, which those games are traditionally PlayStation exclusives. So if, and I hear they're really good. I don't have any of these PlayStation consoles, so if they come out for PC, maybe I'll get to check them out. Overkill's take on The Walking Dead is due up later. That's just the guy talking about what's
it's
coming.
A zombie game that I'm actually I have some slight interest in. I'm so tired of zombie games.
Yeah,
that's people talking about Battle Royale being overdone. Zombie games are way past.
I think some zombie games are still good. I still like Left 4 Dead. I could do more Left 4 Dead.
I love Killing Floor 2.
Yeah, Killing Floor.
I think it also helps that the developer is just fantastic, and the publisher, I guess. I don't know if it's the same.
And Killing Floor has at least the massively over-the-top aesthetic going for it.
But also they constantly add content. I like that. I like that and it's free. Free new weapons, maps and characters, events, different game modes, constantly evolving. And it's not $60.
And if Capcom could have kept what made the original Dead Rising good in the sequels, I think I would still like them. I don't think the reason that I don't like the new Dead Rising games is because they're zombie games. I think it's because the first one was something special, and the rest of them just aren't. is
Yeah.
the problem with that. Because Dead Rising 1 is
I never got a chance. I never got an Xbox One. I want to get one. Was Dead Rising, was it 3 or 4 that launched with the Xbox One?
3 launched with it, and it was an okay game.
Was that was, I know when it launched, their first showing off of it was, hey, look at this zombie game. Oh, it's Dead Rising, and you wouldn't have been able to tell because there's no color and
Right.
there's no, it was like totally serious. Was the whole game actually like that, or did it?
No, it still had some of the campiness, but you were following this mechanic. That's who you played as, and he just didn't. No one in that game quite had the personality that Frank West had.
Yeah.
No matter how much they tried to get away from, like I complained that Halo can't seem to get away from Master Chief, and I wish that they would more often, because when they do, the world really expands. Dead Rising has the opposite problem. Frank West is what made the first Dead Rising so good. So just keep following him. And if you can't do that, stop making the game. There you go.
Yeah, in some franchises, the protagonist is critical to the success of the game, and I think Dead Rising is one of those.
Absolutely.
In other franchises, not as much.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to kind of run through some of these and only stop if we think something is really worth talking about. The guy who made Depth and the original Killing Floor mod is making a new game.
That's the Maneater.
Oh, that's the Maneater. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Open world action RPG where you play as a shark. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Then there's something called Bravery Network, Morningstar, and a pixel art platformer called Overwhelm. So yeah, those are good. Jurassic World Evolution. So dinosaurs.
Jeff Goldblum did the voiceover for that.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Insomniac.
Mine's away.
Insomniac is making a game called Stormland, and it's in VR. So I assume that that's coming to Oculus, the Vive, and probably PlayStation VR, since it's an Insomniac game.
So I believe they actually didn't Insomniac have a contract with someone about making VR games, and that is they had to make like 4, I think, and that is the 4th one.
That's interesting. And I say that Insomniac is not owned by Sony. They have a very close working relationship with Sony. But as we saw with Sunset Overdrive, which is a stinking great game and you should play it, that was an Xbox One game published by Microsoft. It was freaking good.
I need to get it.
Insomniac is also who is developing Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which is basically Sunset Overdrive with Spider-Man.
Yeah, how dare you?
I mean, look at it, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's definitely. Having played it a little bit at a friend's house, Sunset Overdrive, it got me excited, and then playing God of War and seeing how good that looks, how well it runs, and how fun it is on my, not quite launch PS4, but just a standard PS4, like a couple years after launch, it has me excited for Spider-Man for PS4.
Then we have something called Night Call. It's black and white, something or other. And then like Sable.
Game.
Sable looks like Calvin and Hobbes, but specifically Spaceman Spiff. If it was a video game.
It's done in a very cel shady style.
Yeah, very interesting. Star Citizen. Now, is this the game that everybody keeps spending like millions of dollars on spaceships, and the game hasn't actually come out yet?
Yep. Correct. And you know what they showed off here?
What spaceships did you?
Alpha 3.2 launch.
Alpha
3.2.
When you have to have a 3.2 patch for your Alpha.
And they announced it at E3.
Look, none of you people who have ever put a single penny into this game are ever allowed to complain about a game not launching complete. You've lost the right to do that. My gosh.
Are you talking about that? What was that Mega Man game? It was supposed to be a spiritual successor.
Mighty Number 9.
Mighty Number 9. And now we're getting actual Mega Man.
That was
You
I
can get a $9,000 laptop from Acer if that's your thing.
Nice.
All right, back to games. Genesis Alpha 1.
More space games.
Yeah, okay. And then an email about The Quiet Man from Square.
Genesis Alpha 1 actually looks interesting. Sorry, I was looking at pictures. It looks like Fallout, but in space.
Okay.
So The Quiet Man is an interesting one. You're playing a player character. It appears to be a fighting game, but you play as a player character who is deaf.
Oh, that's interesting. Makes the sound design easy.
Well, yes and no, because he's
Yeah.
not totally deaf.
Okay, so everything sounds like muffled, maybe?
Well, like, imagine if you had really, really bad tinnitus and you had a constant ringing in your ears that made it where sound was extremely muffled.
Right. Huh, that's interesting. Then there's Don't Starve Hamlet, which
Expansion.
is just Don't Starve with
They
Hamlet.
added towns
Oh, okay.
to the survival experience, I guess is what it is. Nothing
There
to do
you
with
go.
Shakespeare.
Avalanche Studios, which again we talked about, is developing Rage 2. Came out to talk about Just Cause 4. They're followed by
Yes.
Starbreeze and Overkill with footage of The Walking Dead. We're also told to keep an eye out for a release date. Oh, so what you're telling me is there's no release date.
Nope.
Telltale then talked about the final season of The Walking Dead and some of the mechanical changes. All right, so I have Fallout, The Walking Dead, season 1. And I got all the way to the very last episode, and something drew my attention away from the game, and I never went back. And even though I was enjoying myself, I don't find that I care that I didn't finish it. And I'm just
So
fine with this.
You never had to make the choice with Clementine.
No.
So,
I know that Lee dies because someone spoiled it for me, but
So you don't know how Lee died?
No, I just know he's dead. But yeah, I never got that far, and I
remember specifically like my experience with season 1 was watching PewDiePie play it when he did straight up Let's Plays without like all the jump cuts and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually cried a little bit, teared up, didn't cry, I teared up. I'm a man.
Yeah.
I did it anyway. But I actually Humble Bundle had a Telltale bundle, I believe. You should go check that out. We have links.
There you go.
And I have season 1, 2, the Michonne standalone, and the DLC for season 2, I believe.
Okay.
I do plan on playing that, but yeah, interest not really much there.
So if neither one of you have played season 1 and have never completed the final episode,
I've seen the end. I know what happens.
Okay. So Patrick, how badly do you want to avoid spoilers?
I don't know, because like that's the other thing. I played it on my 360. So I either dig my 360 out to finish it, or I start over on PC, which I'm almost positive through a Humble Bundle I have season 1 on PC.
You probably do.
And actually, now that I think about it, is it backwards compatible for the Xbox One? Because if that's the case, I wouldn't have that problem. I could just go play it on Xbox One. So I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't care at all and then have you spoil it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I care enough that I would like you to not spoil it just in case I do one day.
Okay. Well, then I will simply say this. When the time comes, make Clementine do it.
Okay. And I will say, I kind of stopped caring about that season around the same time that I stopped caring about The Walking Dead in general, which is probably why I didn't care to go back and finish it. Because The Walking Dead, I went through, and actually all of these things kind of coincided with my divorce. So maybe that's the bigger thing. But about the same time that I stopped caring about The Walking Dead, I also stopped caring about Game of Thrones. And yeah, and I've never cared one bit that I didn't go back and finish any of this stuff. So
Walking Dead needs to end.
yeah,
Yes, it
it
does.
really does. So
Someone needs to take it back and make the decision to end it.
indeed. So the final season of that is shipping August 14th. Let's see. Here we go. We have an RPG where every pixel is physically simulated.
Yes.
That's weird.
It's a roguelike, 2D roguelike.
Oh.
It's a 2D pixelated graphics. They're physics based. It's very smooth and crisp looking. My only disappointment is they're like, for some reason, advertising that A, we don't know a release date, and B, we don't even know a release date when it's going to be in early access. They're advertising that it will be in early access, though. Like that's a good thing.
Gosh, stop doing that.
I know I don't like it, but I really want to play that game. It looks good.
Yeah. Something called 2 Point Hospital.
It's the Theme Hospital.
Yes, it's the spiritual successor to Theme Hospital.
Oh, I don't even know what that is, but okay.
It's essentially a quirky hospital, quote unquote, sim.
Yeah.
And I put sim in air quotes because it's very much a resource management game, but it's cranked to the absurd.
Okay. Yeah. We got something called Ooblets.
It
looks interesting.
It's inspired by Animal Crossing, Stardew. What's the other one that Stardew is inspired by? It's like a farming simulator.
Harvest Moon.
Harvest Moon, yeah. It's like that. Although I, at this point, would rather just play all three of those.
Yeah, probably. Tiny Build, which, by the way, if you didn't see, they put out a really funny music video. I don't know if it was showcased at the PC gaming thing or if it was just put up on YouTube later, but they do a song where they're talking about they're making the greatest game in the world. It's really, really funny. You should go watch that. I'll try and link to it in the description below this. But yeah, they're doing a battle royale game, or they're publishing it, and it's called Rapture Rejects, inspired by Cyanide and Happiness. Okay, this I would play. Oh my gosh. A battle royale game done in the style of Cyanide and Happiness. Yeah, sign me up. I'll play this, even if it's a battle royale game. I don't even care. That's gonna be hilarious.
I mean, even if you setting aside the sacrilegious element,
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think that's fun. And then Hitman 2 developer, which if those of you don't know, the developer of Hitman separated from Square Enix and actually managed to take the Hitman IP with them.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. So anyway, they've got what looks like a Hitman game.
Hitman 2.
There is a demo available now that you can download and play.
Okay. Well, there you go. So that's that.
They're doing that weird numbering thing with it where it's like Hitman 2 was already a thing years ago on the GameCube, I believe, and
Hitman 2 Blood Money.
Yep. And now we're getting Hitman 2 again because nobody knows how to count in 2015, 16, and 17.
Nope. You got someone walk me through the Battlefield games because that's the funniest thing. Yep. 1942.
1942.
Battlefield
Vietnam.
2.
Or Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 2142.
Okay.
Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Oh, okay. There's another number.
Battlefield 3.
Yep.
Battlefield
Hotline. Hot something.
Hotline.
I thought Battlefield 4 was Hotline.
Battlefield Hotline Bling.
Drake comes out on screen and just starts dancing.
No, you're right. Battlefield 3 was followed by something that wasn't 4, didn't it?
Battlefield, it's Hotline. It's cops and robbers.
No, that was after 4, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know.
I think so, because it was an Xbox One game.
Because it was right in that area where it got really muddy, and I stopped following the Battlefield series.
Yeah.
But anyway, you had Battlefield 3, Hardline, Battlefield 4, and then Battlefield 1.
Yep. And now 5.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to 5.
Almost as
And now,
funny as Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One.
we have and we have Halo 2, or no, sorry, Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Wars, what was it? Reach, or no, sorry, ODST, Reach,
Mhm.
4, Halo 4,
Halo
Halo
5.
Wars 2, or you know, say yeah, Halo 5, Halo Wars 2,
Halo Wars 2.
Halo Infinite.
Yeah. I mean, at least until Infinite comes out, they kind of did the same thing that I guess the Final Fantasy games were doing for a while. The mainline ones got numbers, and
Yeah,
everything else was called something else.
yeah.
And then it's just a big freaking mess. I always love, speaking of numbering things, I always love when like before the PS4 was coming out, everybody was like, "What are they gonna call it?" And I'm like, PlayStation 4. Why are you
Right.
They're like, no, it's gonna be called Orbit. Do you really think that that's what it's gonna be called? No, that's so stupid. With Microsoft, you never have any, you know, they're going to use a number, but you never have any idea what number they're going to pull out of the air. And Nintendo, it's just whatever.
I think we're also forgetting the most important one is Fallout 1, 2, 3, New Vegas, 4, 76.
Right.
No, I'm afraid you skipped a few.
Oh.
There was Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout Tactics, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, the canceled Fallout 3, which was Fallout Van Buren.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Then there was Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and then
Shelter.
Fallout Shelter, Fallout 4, and now Fallout 76.
Fallout 76. I guess
nobody knows how to count anymore.
No. It's the dumbest thing ever. Like, I really wonder if are they going to call it Infinity War 2 or are they going to call it Infinity War 9?
Infinity War Infinite.
Yeah, Infinity War Infinite.
Infinity War X. They either lose count, don't know how to go past a certain number, or just have ADHD and name it something entirely different.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I guess you've also got Super Mario Brothers 2 US, and Super Mario Brothers 2 Japan, two different games. Super Mario Brothers 3, then Super Mario World, then Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, and then Super Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's just the mainline series,
right? And then they kind of dropped.
It's fun.
Then they dropped the numbers until Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
So,
Goodness.
just big old stinking mess. All right, go ahead.
It's all a mess.
I mean, it's the classic Windows problem, right? It's Windows 1.0, Windows 2, Windows 3, Windows 3.11, Windows. Let's see, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows X, Windows 2000, Windows XP,
ME.
Well, I mean, technically, Windows ME was Windows 98 3rd edition. So there was Windows 98, Windows 98 2nd edition.
They each had their own iteration.
No, Windows ME was Windows 98 doesn't boot.
Then you had Windows 2000, Windows XP, then Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, and then Windows 10.
Windows 10, yeah.
And I think we're gonna be stuck on 10 for a while too.
Yeah, I feel like they're doing the Apple thing where it's just Mac OS and it's just Windows. That's what we're going for. All right, Sony. We got little brief snippets.
That was a good sidetrack.
No, it's okay. That's what we do here. We sidetrack, and that's why we only have 3 people watching, which I guarantee you are the 3 of us.
Actually, because of all the streams and stuff, I had to close mine.
Oh, okay. So we do. I wonder if Anifix is back in there. That's good. Yeah. So Sony's press conference. They started out with The Last of Us 2.
Yep. Which I think was interesting that they made the room that everybody was sitting in look like the building that everyone was in during the intro of like gameplay, I guess.
Right. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. They, like I said, they always have some kind of fanfare or something that was, adds to the experience at least.
Right. I know you probably didn't hear us because you had us muted, but you said so far Last of Us 2 looks more interesting than the first, and immediately followed that up with lesbian makeout scene bookends the action gameplay. And I said to Ned, I mean, I don't know if that's why he thinks it's more interesting than the first, but he mentioned it.
I have to defend myself. I did hear that, but I was like, and then by the time I actually said something, it was like way past late.
Yeah.
That's not what made it interesting. It was just, I was like, I don't know. It just seems like it was one of those things where they're like, let's give this person who's experiencing a lot of stress and traumatic events a relationship. Let's make it a lesbian relationship because equality, and we need some other plot line that makes our overall story more messy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I can't really say much because I have never played the first one or any of its DLC or whatever they've come out with for it. Didn't they have a standalone expansion?
Yeah, I mean, I think you wound up needing No, you didn't need the game.
You
to
did
play it. It was it was a standalone. I mean, I think they had DLC that you need the game for, but yeah, the expansion that you're talking about specifically, I'm pretty sure you could just go buy it for $8 or whatever it was and play it without needing a copy of the main game.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know why you would, because it sounds like you wouldn't really know. Even though it was a prequel technically, it sounded like you wouldn't really be able to follow what was going on if you hadn't already played the main game. But I could be wrong about that.
Pretty
or
much.
at least even if it didn't matter, I feel like you just wouldn't have the motivation or the care because
Right.
following characters that are in later.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, oh, cool. I don't see why they're relevant.
Yeah. God of War 4 is getting New Game Plus, which I already said. It seems like a kind of thing where it's like, why didn't you just include that?
Yeah, from what I understand, they don't want to do any DLC or anything like that. They don't want to add to the game. The New Game Plus, I believe, is going to be a free update, and that I agree that probably should have just been. But it's possible that they were planning on making that more of a, instead of you just starting over with all of your skills and everything, it might be just that. But I feel like maybe they can make it something better. And, it's actually, maybe they really worked on it instead of making the enemies have more health and you take more damage.
Right. Well, and that a lot of people got aggravated when hard mode was introduced to Breath of the Wild, but it was behind a paywall.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that, and I don't want to defend the decision because I do think it was stupid. But at the same time, I have that hard mode, having had played it, I can tell you that there was a lot more put into it than just make all of the bad guys stronger.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I have heard some of the different things that they've done to it. I know one of the hardest enemies or not the hardest, but a bigger, more scarier enemy is actually in like the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Or a Lionel, which I guess is a more difficult common enemy.
Right.
Is right up in there.
Yeah. So and that's interesting. And yeah, this is a free update. It kind of says to me that maybe the game, and I don't know, maybe they weren't planning on a New Game Plus being in the game at all, and this was just we'll tack it in there for for what the heck. Right. But if they were planning on it being there, there's part of me that's like, why don't you just put it in there? I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, it's not, of all the things to exclude from a game at launch, that's a pretty minor sin, I'll say. So
that's true. It wasn't. What was the game that came out and then people found the DLC on disc?
That would be Soul Calibur 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Xbox 360 and the PS3. They had.
I was like, wow, why didn't you just?
Well, and not just that, but if you bought it for Xbox 360, you got either Yoda or Darth Vader as an exclusive character, and I don't remember which one. And then if you bought it for PS3, you got the other one. And they sold it like that. Like, if you buy it on this system, you're getting this character, and you'll never be able to get the other character, and vice versa. And then, like, months later, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we are going to go ahead and sell you the other character if you're on the other system, which that right there is already kind of crappy, because it's like, hey, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
But then when people bought the DLC and downloaded it, they realized that the DLC was like several kilobytes in size. And so that got some data miners curious because they went, there's no way in the world this character is only so many kilobytes in size. It has to be, bigger than that, at least a few megabytes, because you've got, all the animations associated with it and the art assets. And they went and found out, oh, all of this stuff already exists on the disc. You just need what is basically a text file on your hard drive to be able to unlock it. And that's where that came into play. So,
yep.
We already made fun of the 4 remastered Black Ops 1 maps for a Black Ops game that you will stop playing once the pre-order game
does make
comes
sense
out.
a little bit more now that they made it free for PS Plus users.
Yeah.
Still just a dumb, weird move.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't make any sense.
I wonder if that's... I mean, I realize they wouldn't have mentioned it because it's Sony conference, but I wonder if you pre-order the game for PC or... actually, does the Call of Duty game still come out on PC?
Yes.
I don't even know. Okay.
It's just a very tiny player base.
Right. Okay, so I wonder if
up until recently, the ports were horrible. They're still not great.
Yeah.
Treyarch cared a little bit, but it still wasn't.
Good old Treyarch. So I wonder if you pre-order it for the other systems, if you get the same thing. I don't know. And of course, like I said,
Probably
they
not.
weren't going to have mentioned that at the Sony conference, but who knows? Yeah. Then we got whatever this Japanese Dad of War looking game is.
Ghost of Sushi.
Tsushima. Do you have any more to say about it, or?
I mean, so the combat, at first it seemed kind of like God of War, but I think there was a little bit of stealth to it as well.
Okay.
And there was, it looked like maybe a bullet time mechanic. But other than that, yeah, it's just action, third person, over the shoulder, like the new God of War samurai game with what seems like a pretty intense story. And I don't know, looks good. I'm more interested in it than I initially was.
Well,
I like samurai stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool.
About Control. You said it looks really drugged out of control and esoteric. What is?
I didn't realize I wrote Control as as like a description and as well as it being the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks, I don't know, it just looks weird. It starts off with a lady holding a gun going up an elevator, I believe, and the gun just turns into like little Minecraft blocks and starts like rotating and then goes back into gun form. And she ends up at the top, like the elevator stops, and the whole world is kind of like that, more cubey and stuff. Not in it's still like she's normal looking. She doesn't look like a female version of Steve or anything like that. Like super weird. But it is, I don't know. There really isn't much to that. Like, we didn't get much. I think it was more of that, just like kind of what Bethesda did with the new Elder Scrolls game. I almost said Skyrim. They just kind of like, look, it's here. Here's a little something, and then that was it. I guess we'll just have to wait.
Okay.
It was the teaser.
Yeah.
Interesting. I scrolled down. Where am I at? Trover Saves the Universe is Rick and Morty, but it's not. What does that mean?
So it's made by Justin Roiland. It is. He's the creator of, and I believe voice actor for a majority of, or at least the main characters in Rick and Morty.
Okay.
The comedy style is very similar. It's a similar art style, but it's in 3D. It's very like on the spot acting, like that, unscripted, or there might be another word that I can't remember, but it was just like they made a joke and you can tell it was just like, because he's saying and stumbling, and
like, so it's like ad-libbed.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, it seemed interesting. I think it was a VR game, possibly PSVR.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't too much that I remember from it. It wasn't, I don't know. I think Rick and Morty is okay. I think if you love Rick and Morty, you'll probably love whatever kind of game this is, at least for the story and the comedy alone.
Yeah.
But other than that, just if you're not interested in Rick and Morty, it's not really anything special.
And given
Go ahead.
complete lack of interest in my part on anything Rick and Morty, yeah, I honestly, the Rick and Morty, people praise it as the smartest show on television. Well, it's only the smartest show on television if you have roughly a 12-year-old's grasp of philosophy.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
Dude.
It's the smartest show on television if you've never seen Ninjago.
I know my
Wow,
nephew loves that show.
That's
I haven't
way
seen it.
harsh.
Dude, the Ninjago TV show, freaking amazing. That movie did not live up to how good the TV show is.
Is that a movie?
Yes, I went and saw that movie. There were some really, really hilarious moments in that movie.
Okay.
But it's not as good. Like, and when I say that, like the funniest part about it was Lord Garmadon. How familiar are you with the show?
I am not.
Okay, so it's basically like Power Rangers but Lego, and you've got the green character, the Green Ranger, I guess you could say. Lloyd is actually the son of the villain in the show. And so is Lord Garmadon and his kid Lloyd. And Lord Garmadon has not been in Lloyd's life pretty much at all. And there's a scene where they just got done with a fight, and Lloyd comes out and he's talking to him, and Garmadon's talking to him, and then Lloyd takes his hood off and calls him Dad. And Garmadon looks at him and is like, oh, the Lloyd, because Lloyd is spelled with 2 L's. And Lloyd goes, "It's Lloyd. You ruined my life." And he goes, "I named you. It's Lloyd. I think I know what it was."
Oh my god.
But then they go back and forth, and like it's really funny, but it's also kind of depressing because Lloyd talks about how you ruined my life, and then Lord Garmadon goes, "I wasn't around. How could I possibly have ruined your life?" And I'm like, that's funny and also like really dark and depressing. But the TV show way better than the movie. And like the TV show is good enough that I tell people like go watch it. It's pretty stinking good. The movie, I mean, if you're into like if you just want to see the Lego animation, it's good for that. But it's the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie are both significantly better than the Ninjago movie. All right, I don't know how we got off on that. Oh, because I said it was smarter than Rick and Morty, and I stand by that.
You guys are
New
both
Kingdom
crucified
Hearts
by the
3
fan
stuff.
base.
What's that?
I said you guys are both going to get crucified by the Rick and Morty fan
I don't
base.
even care. You know what? They probably don't even know what a
I'm
crucifixion
sorry.
is.
Fair.
Nihilistic cosmic horror is only as smart as it thinks it is, and it isn't.
No.
Agreed. New Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff. Pirates of the Caribbean reveal for Kingdom Hearts 3 looks really weird because it's a realistic art style.
Yeah.
Which Anifix pointed out was also true of it in Kingdom Hearts 2. Which I don't know. I didn't play.
I've only played a little bit of the first and second one, basically just the beginning levels, and it's probably true. I think just with the newer generation of graphics and consoles that we have now, it's more jarring, I guess. If you look at if you look at some of the stuff from like Frozen or something, it's more animated and everything, and then you cut to if you didn't have the UI or if Sora wasn't on screen or anything, it would look like a licensed Pirates of the Caribbean game.
Right.
It didn't, which I think is cool. That definitely wasn't a shot at the game. I think it's cool that we're at that point where a game can have differing art styles for every world / level and still be its own thing.
Right. And I pointed out too when Anifix mentioned that it was realistic in Kingdom Hearts 2. That game was on PlayStation 2. So like when you say it was realistic, I mean there's only so much that you could possibly have done with that. Right. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Something being photorealistic on the PS2 and something being photorealistic on the PS4 are two completely different things.
Right. They tried their best back then,
Yeah. And it sounds so Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, and 3 are coming in one package.
Yes.
You know what? I want to know.
My friend just bought the PS4 like package or whatever. He got the PlayStation credit card and bought something with it to get the gift card to buy the game.
Yeah.
Did it, and then I just messaged him. I was like, "Hey, look what they're doing," and he's like, "I hate myself."
No Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5 for Xbox. Oh, this is for 2016, so yeah, there's something called attackofthefanboy.com that says that Square Enix teases the possibility of Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 on Xbox One, but that's the only thing I see, and I'm assuming they didn't mention it at all during the press conference because they were saving that reveal for the Sony conference, and we probably won't know anything definitive until either Square Enix says something about it on the show floor over the next couple of days, or someone pops on Amazon and notices that there's a listing for it.
Right.
That'd be my
guess. It's possible I missed something, or but I feel like that would be something you would see a bunch of news sites posting. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on Xbox. It's happening.
Yep. All right. Now my new favorite indie band, Norman Reedus and the Fucking Fetus.
Yes,
I love it.
They're a Hootie and the Blowfish cover band.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's not that I don't think that this game will be good.
We don't know anything about it.
But yeah, but because we don't know anything
Yeah.
about it, I have exactly this much interest in it, which is to say I have none. I just care.
It's so they did, I think I was correct in saying that maybe new gameplay or maybe gameplay, because I believe that was gameplay that we got in between some new, I'm assuming in-engine rendered footage,
right,
cutscene kind of whatever. But there was gameplay of him climbing up the side of a mountain and then using a rope. Like they cut back and forth, so we didn't see him like throwing it or shooting it or anything. So we don't know how the rope got there or whatever. We don't know if there's going to be weapons or how the combat is or anything like that.
Is Norman Reedus naked the entire time?
No, but it actually, so it opens up and it's just butt cheeks coming out of whatever something. And no explanation. It just shows like in the I think last year it was the baby went back in whatever it is and then did a thumbs up. Well, it was literally I guess right after that, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. But instead of a thumb coming out, it was just a butt right in your face, and then the baby turns around and peeks its head through, and it's like, hello. It doesn't actually say hi. That would be even worse.
Yeah. Okay. have you guys seen Idiocracy?
Yes.
Is that the one?
That's where Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson's brother, he's in it, and he's really stupid, and he's in a time machine or something, and he not time machine, but frozen and forgotten about, and then he wakes up and he's the smartest guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
electrolytes. It's what plants create.
Yeah. You remember the movie that everybody was watching?
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's just called Ass, and it's an hour and a half of a butt, and occasionally it farts.
Yeah,
and it's the number one movie in the world. Yeah, that's what I thought. If you have not seen Idiocracy, fair warning, it's painful to watch.
It's also rated R.
Oh yeah, and it's rated R, but it is so worth it.
Yeah,
it's such a good movie.
I felt the same way after watching that as I did watching Napoleon Dynamite. I was just kind of like, wow, that was an experience.
Yeah, but I
thought that was funnier than Napoleon Dynamite.
I don't warn people when I tell people to watch Napoleon Dynamite. I'm like, no, just watch it. It's good. You'll like it. Watch it with some friends and you'll enjoy it. Idiocracy, I have to be like, you might want to have a beer or two before you watch it.
Right.
Because it's difficult to stomach. All right, so then you heard us talking about Skylanders and said that it was put on hiatus for the foreseeable future, but that had nothing to do with the press conference.
No. I was trying to keep in the loop because there was So one thing they kept doing was in the beginning, dude came on stage. I don't remember his name. I believe he might be some kind of higher up in Sony. He's like announced this musician, and this guy came on the screen and played a banjo for like 10 minutes.
Oh my word.
And that was
Scratch off the unnecessary musical act on your video card.
Isn't there like you exit and then do a circle if it happens more than once or something like that? Because it happened again. another I think it was another person just came on and playing a flute or some kind of you blow into it and it makes a whistling noise.
But was it a Wii Music flute?
No. See, and I think that's why Nintendo stopped doing the press conferences, and they just
you know what? That might have been the last year that they did one.
2008, I think.
And they were like, "So this is a bad idea. Let's never do it again." No, I know that wasn't the last year that they did it because they at least the year before the Wii U came out, they had a press conference because they came out and showed the gamepad. And no one had any idea if it was a new console or an add-on for the Wii. So I know at least that happened.
I'm watching some cringe comps after this.
Oh, yeah. So good. All right. Neo 2?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
I don't know.
Sure.
Let's go with that.
A sequel to Neo.
Yeah.
Which was essentially Samurai Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also want to try both of those games out. Haven't gotten to them yet, though.
Sweet. And then we just had Spider-Man PS4. He's at the raft. 2 exclamation points. And both Ned and I were like, I mean, what does that mean?
I don't know if you want to. I have like this. This might go on for a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So it shows up. They show the raft first, which for a second I was like, oh, Square Enix was just waiting to show their Avengers game at Sony because Spider-Man, and maybe they go together in some way or so. I don't know. My hopes were there. They were instantly killed, but then, Spider-Man showed up and I didn't care anymore. So Spider-Man is at the raft fighting, I believe Electro is at the start, and he's wondering what's going on. The reporter lady, I'm drawing a blank. She shows up and is talking to him or whatever, and then
April O'Neil, obviously. Gosh.
I mean, it might as well be their version of that. Yeah. She shows up in a helicopter and they're talking, and then I believe Electro attacks. I've only been able to watch it once. I want to rewatch it like 50 million times. Electro attacks the helicopter, and Spider-Man starts going on this chase, and he eventually ends up inside of the raft. And that's where I said it looked like Arkham Asylum. It literally looked like if you put Batman over Spider-Man, it would look like a new Arkham Asylum game. It reminded me so much of when they announced Arkham Asylum, where it was him in the prison and the enemies start coming out and he starts fighting them. It felt like that, basically. But Spider-Man, it was, it wasn't as dark and brooding, and there was some color in there. And it seemed interesting. Rhino knocks down a door. Spider-Man's like questioning why he's there, which I think is kind of weird because, I mean, maybe I guess he's questioning why he's out, but it's the raft. All the supervillains went there, so I don't see why he'd be questioning why he's there. You have Electro, Rhino, Scorpion shows up behind Spider-Man after chasing, I think Electro outside. Vulture shows up. I believe they're building up the Sinister Six, except for instead of it being the Tinker and who else? It's the Tinker and someone else. Someone gets the Tinker to help set it up, but instead of that, it's Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative shows up on a helicopter, and they all start pummeling Spider-Man to a bloody pulp. Well, not actually bloody, but they start beating him up like real bad. And I was like, wow, someone should show up, like this would be a perfect time to introduce someone. And of course he goes, he like looks up and he's like, you? and then they cut, and that's all we have. That's
cool.
It was a little longer than what I explained, but I couldn't remember everything, and I didn't want to
Just as an aside here, I would totally play a Spider-Man Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
Dude.
Yes.
Heck yeah. Shout out to Mirage Leonard. I don't know if the comment you made was just now or not, because like after I typed in what I said to you, a whole bunch of comments from Anifix that were clearly made over a period of time just suddenly loaded into my Twitch chat. So I might have been delayed. So Mirage Leonard, if you were here like 20 minutes ago and I missed you, I apologize. But if you're not and you're still here, shout out. Thanks for coming. It's awesome. Okay, so what I want to know about the Spider-Man game, and again, I don't have a PS4. I'm not going to go play this thing. I'm not going to go buy a PS4 just so I can play this. But one thing that it wasn't like a big highlight of the last time they showed it, but it was in the reveal, so it was kind of a concern for people. And Insomniac was pretty quick to come out and say, "No, it's not that big of a deal." Quick time events, I don't like them. And actually, that's putting it lightly. I hate them. I think they're dumb.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have any place in games. It's just, I can't stand it. Now, real quick, I like them in games like God of War, where it's like you're doing this real big bloody thing. And I don't know if they're in God of War 4, but they were kind of a big part of the boss fights.
They are, but not as much. Not nearly as much.
Okay. But in most games, they're just like these little stupid things that I feel like I probably could be doing some other way of controlling the character. And so that was something I believe Spider-Man's either running or he's pulling himself up on a web up this falling crane. And there's a couple of times where it's like press square, press, whatever to do these fancy things. And then immediately after that, Insomnia, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, even though we made a big deal out of this QuickTime event in here because it looks really cool, don't worry, it's not going to be a big part of the game. And I immediately thought, well, if it's not a big part of the game, why the heck did you show it to us?
Yeah.
So, like, what are your thoughts on that?
So I to an extent agree. I don't like QuickTime events. I think they're dumb. I think they kind of address that actually in this trailer. They have him chasing Electro. I'm trying to rewatch over the footage now. They have him chasing Electro, and he's like, I think he says something akin to, "Oh, so it's a chase then," or something. And it has him running out through the building and to outside of the raft. And there's no QuickTime events. It's you free running up to a wall and then free running up the wall, zipping out and just zipping through.
Right.
So I feel like they showed that specifically to kind of combat the idea of QuickTime events being a big part of the game.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I don't think we have anything much more than what they were saying when Game Informer was doing their big info dump on it. Where it was just there are QuickTime events in the game. That's all. Like they didn't really give us much then, and they still haven't really given us much now, other than showing no QuickTime events in this I think 7-minute video.
Okay.
So I don't know. I will be disappointed if it's more common than it should be. I'm fine if it's in there here and there, but I don't want it to be a part of every single main story quest and boss fight. Like, if it's in there once or twice in a boss fight, fine. But if I have to kill any of the bosses, if I have to do a quick time event at least once per boss, it actually would be pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say I would be mad though, because it's still a new Spider-Man game.
Right.
I'll have to let that sit once the game comes out.
You don't like Spider-Man, do you?
No, I hate it.
I can tell. Your favorite Marvel character is Aquaman.
Yep. What?
You didn't even catch that, did you? Like, wait, what?
For a second. They have what's his name? They do have their own Aquaman. I can't think of his name.
I'm sure they do. They all copy each other.
Submariner.
Submariner, yep.
That's just a dumb name.
Yeah.
Not that Aquaman's a great name or anything, but you know. All right, well that's basically it. That's all of E3 up to this point. If you missed our previous E3 coverage, right about now, I feel like the YouTube video should be live from our last night's podcast. I wasn't on it. I don't think Sam was on it either. Ned, were you there?
I was.
Yeah, I haven't got to watch it yet.
Mostly me and Anifix.
There you go. So all about EA, Microsoft, Bethesda some, and then maybe Devolver Digital a little bit. And then, of course, tonight we talked, if you missed the beginning of the show, we talked a lot more about Bethesda because the Bethesda show was actually going on while they were live last night. It's kind of similar to what happened here with Sony. So we talked a little bit more about that and covered all that stuff. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a lot about Nintendo. And then tomorrow is actually when E3 officially begins. So the show floor will be open. You'll have Nintendo doing their treehouse stuff. I'm sure you'll see a lot of stuff from Square Enix, Capcom. I almost said Konami. Tear.
Now they suck.
Yeah. So hoping to see a real big showing from Nintendo. We got supposedly some big Smash Brothers stuff. We'll probably see more of the Splatoon 2 Octo whatever it's called expansion pack that's coming out. I'm kind of hoping that they show some stuff with Arms. Arms is a good game that I don't think gets enough love, mostly because I mean Splatoon 2 is a better game. So there's that. And I'm hoping I mean, you know, it's just true. I'm hoping we'll see something about Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that we get a freaking Animal Crossing.
Yes. Please.
Come on, Nintendo.
Do it.
I want to give you money. And that is a way that you can get it. They'll probably showcase it. Oh, I'm also hoping. Okay, so when we talked about the Nintendo leak, I don't know if either of you two were there, actually. But the one thing, were you there, Ned?
Yes, because we talked about the Fallout 3 remastered.
Oh, that's right. Which I'm kind of hoping we still hear about, because that would be really cool.
Yeah.
There has actually been no mention of a Fallout 3 remaster at all so far, has there been?
No.
No, there has not.
So wouldn't that be interesting if Nintendo scored the rights to reveal that? That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean,
it would be something very different.
Yeah,
they're making moves with Ubisoft. Shigeru Miyamoto was at Ubisoft's press conference to help reveal the.
That's right. I forgot to mention
Donkey Kong expansion for Mario and Rabbids.
Oh, for Mario and Rabbids, yeah.
Yep.
And then Ubisoft has that Star Fox thing with the build your own rocket ship.
Yep, and they gave him the Star Fox ship in like a cool, I think, die cast.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Tight. So yeah, so that's gonna be neat. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping to see. And then of course the show floor.
Mario Maker. I don't know if you're.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That Super Mario Maker and Animal Crossing are the only things that I want to see. I guess revealed. I want to see other things, but we know other things are going to be shown, like the new Smash Bros.
Right.
But the Super Mario Maker and Animal Crossing. If we get Super Mario Maker, I will have officially no reason, myself at least, to get a Wii U. I still kind of want a Wii U.
Yeah.
Just for that reason. But Bayonetta 1, 2, and soon 3 are all on Switch. And if I can't remember quite everything, but a lot of games have already been moved over. And there's just no reason to have a Wii U if you have a Switch.
So if they'll put... I realize we could talk about this tomorrow night, but well, we're already talking about it now. If they'll put Yoshi's Woolly World, Mario 3D World, which I mean that's not like a must, but I feel like they should. The Xenoblade game, Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Mario Maker. If they'll put those 4 games on Switch, all of the big first part, well, and of course, considering Smash Brothers coming out for Switch, whatever that winds up being, all of the big first party Wii U games that I say you need to get a Wii U to be able to play will be on Switch, because Captain Toad is coming out very soon. In fact, actually, I think When is it
Wait,
coming
sorry.
out?
What's happening? What?
Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is coming to Switch and actually with new content.
Yeah.
Um,
There was something I wanted to mention about that. I guess if I'm here, if I'm on tomorrow, I will bring that up.
yeah.
I'll save that.
So, but yeah, okay. So anyway, the reason why I mentioned when we talked about the Nintendo leak is because the one thing on that leak that I was like, "There's no way in the world this is true," is the name of the Yoshi game, Yoshi's Flippin' Island. If we find out that that is the name of that game tomorrow, my mind will officially be blown. I'll be like, who? And it's not even because I think it's a bad name. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad name. I think it's a very un-Nintendo name for a game. So if they come out tomorrow and are like, oh, hey, by the way, here's some footage for Yoshi's Flippin' Island, I'm going to be like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so what I'm hoping, Mario Maker announcement tomorrow, and I really hope that they either just announce that they're going to sell Yoshi's Woolly World separately, like even if it's just an eShop game, or that it comes with whatever Yoshi's Flippin' Island is actually called, because that game, if especially now that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is arguably one of the greatest 2D platformers ever crafted by man, is now on the Switch. Possibly the second greatest 2D platformer ever is Yoshi's Woolly World. And it would be a darn shame if those two games weren't both on the Switch. That would be that would be a shame. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But we'll be talking a lot about that tomorrow. We'll be talking about stuff that happened on the show floor. Wednesday, I'm not doing a live show. I'm supposing whoever normally streams that night will be live. Maybe if somebody else wants to do a live show to cover E3 stuff on Wednesday, they'll do that. But I'm not hosting it. I do need a break at some point. And then Thursday night, we come back. We're going to wrap up our E3 stuff. We're going to talk about what we liked about E3, what we didn't like about E3. We'll get to talk about all the conferences, having been able to sit on them for a little while and think about, what we're excited about, what our missteps. Yeah, that's that. And if we talk about missteps, we'll probably just talk about how bad that Command and Conquer mobile game looks. And then anything else wrong that happened, anything else wrong that happened at E3 will be like, I mean, it wasn't Command and Conquer mobile, whatever it's called. It's Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer Rivals.
Yeah, Rivals. We'll be like, it's not that, so it could be worse. And then we'll all go, oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Was Elder Scrolls Blades talked about?
It was.
Okay.
It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It looks decent.
And I'm glad. I was a little upset because I was like, why didn't they just give us this? Add a little, add hands, up the graphics, and then throw it on PC, and this would have been fine for for a smaller title, Elder Scrolls title, until we have the new one. But then they announced that it was coming to console and PC, and then they announced Elder Scrolls 6. So
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like Bethesda actually did really well.
Yep. So, all right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for coming out and watching. Thank you, Ned and Sam, for being here to support me, because goodness knows it would have been really boring if I had just been talking about all this stuff, especially since I didn't get to watch any of the conferences. And what really stinks is the odds that I'm going to have seen the Nintendo Direct before I have to talk about it tomorrow night are pretty slim, because it's coming on while I'm at work. On my break, I'm going to try and download it because I have YouTube Red, and I'm going to try and watch it. But I mean, at most, I'll probably get through a half hour of it and then just kind of have to go on that. And so
it's going to be 45 minutes long.
Yeah, and they always are. So okay. I'm going to do my best to have at least gotten myself filled in as much as I can. But yeah, so that'll be that. Yeah, like I said, I ramble when I'm ending these things, and it's a really bad habit that I got to get out of the habit of. So I'm going to stop right now. Love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Forge on. We are